All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 12 p.m. Tech Bits mini-series. Today, we are going to be covering and talking about Google Forms. This will be an introductory to Google Forms. So if you haven't ever had a chance to create a form using Google, here's your chance. So some of the, just really quickly, some of the mini-series outcomes is just to become more and more familiar with Google Suites and other technology resources, identify ways of using those new tools in your working classroom, and to make sure that we know how to successfully set up those new tools and practice and play together. The TechBit norms for every meeting is everyone participate, please, but you can always choose to pass, be an active listener, be open and honest, don't be afraid to take risks, find connection among ideas, and respect and appreciate, and look forward to different ideas and discovering new ideas, and above all, support one another. So in each of these PowerPoint presentation, I always add the short tutorial videos that I've kind of researched and worked from. So I have a couple of them. One of them is a Google Forms tutorial for beginners. The other one that I've added in there are 9 advanced Google tips and tricks, which was really, really cool. And then I have a longer video of advanced features that we're going to be going through as we move through our series of Google Forms in TechBits. So we're going to practice and play together today. Mostly in today's session, I will just be walking you through how to create a Google form. So you'll just be looking at the screen, but if you do have any questions, please let me know. And of course, at the end of each of these PowerPoint presentations, I provide my contact information in case you have any questions after. I do have some notes for today. This is just, if you're a visual learner, this is just step-by-steps on how to create a form, how to edit a form, as well as I went ahead and added an area of quizzes, creating quizzes. So make sure that you check that out as well. You can find all of today's materials on the Region 9 R9 TechBits website. And then at the end of each of the notes, I provide you with the videos as well that we are covering today. So let's go ahead and get started. It is 12:06, so we just need to jump in there. So the first thing that we want to do when you're starting to create Google Forms, there's several ways in order to start a new form, but the easiest way that I know how to do it is to go to my Drive. All right, so I am in my Drive, and you click on the plus button. So now everybody's is going to look a little bit different. In ours at Region 9, we do have Google Forms listed. If it's not listed in your dropdown, make sure that you click on more and find it. You'll probably find it here. Okay, but in our case, Google Forms is listed. So I'm going to go ahead and click Google Forms. And again, it's opening a new document. What's the first thing that we do when we start any new document in Google is to name it. So practice and play. 3, 2, 2, 2. Okay. So if you noticed, I renamed the title, and it automatically populated it to the title on the form. Now let's just take a look at what is on our screen at the moment. There's several different operating tools that you could use. So let's just kind of go through them. At the very top, you're going to see a puzzle piece. On the top right, excuse me, you're going to see a top puzzle piece. These are your add-ons. So you can, if you're not seeing a feature in Google, you can often find those additional add-ons in this area. The other neat thing about Google Forms is you can always, anything in Google really, is you have custom themes that you can choose from. So this little paint palette, I'm going to click on that. And at this point, you can, let me move the Zoom controls out of the way. I can choose a header, okay? I can choose a theme color, all right? I can change it to different colors if I need to. I can also adjust my background color. And I can also select, I'm going to do playful. I like the playful font. Select my font at this point. Now let's just go ahead and practice choosing an image so you can get an idea of what that would look like. Now, there's several different themes that I can choose that Google uses, or I can select and upload a picture from my that I've downloaded to my drive, my hard drive, or I can actually choose from select photos. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and upload. And let's see. I need to, again, these Zoom controls are in the way. Desktop. Let's see, R9 logos. I want to choose the new R9 logo, and let's see what that's going to look like. Now, if you noticed on our R9 logo, this one is kind of difficult to do because it's a little bit blockier, and I didn't adjust the size, and I can't really widen this area. So it really kind of needs to be in a banner format. So let's go back to upload. Let's cancel out of that, choose a header, and upload. I'm going to go ahead and choose one of the banners that I created for our recent TechBit mini-series, and let's see how that looks. All right, so that's kind of a perfect fit right there. And basically this is a Google header for a classroom size that I've designed for the TechBit mini-series, and it fits perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And if you notice, it populates at the top. And if you also notice what happened to my background colors, since my header, it's smart. So it notices that I'm using a lot of green. So it's pulling in from a green. I can adjust this theme color so all of my sections are a little bit darker. And then again, the background color, I can also darken. So Google provides a little bit of theme options, which are always fun. If we go back up to the top right, you're going to notice the little eye icon. This is what you would select, and we will go back to this button and select this once we've added a few more items to our form today. But this is how you would want to preview your form, and this will give you, it'll open up at a new page, and it'll give you the view of what your end user or your audience will see. Oftentimes, this is what I copy and paste to share as my link to the form when I'm working in emails or attaching it to the website, so on and so forth. You also have the handy dandy undo and redo buttons up at the top right. If you need to send the form, this gives you an option of how you can send it. It pops open. You can send it email and a link, or you can embed the form. Okay, so if I wanted to embed this form into my website, this is the area or address that I would communicate with my web director, or if you're the one that's operating your website, this is the information or the frame that I would copy and paste into that area. In the emails, I can simply start typing twos. Now, since we are an agency and in a domain, as you can see, I started typing in Cleo's name, and her name automatically pops up, and her old Magdalena K-12 address as well. But I could select Cleo. I can change the subject line. I can actually, I've invited you to fill out a form and include the form in this email. You want to make sure to check that box. Now, when you do check that box, to my knowledge, it won't just be a link, it will be the actual form in the email, which is nice. I can also add collaborators at this point. And when I clicked on collaborators, it opens up my add editors pop-up box. And at this point, since we are in this domain, I can add Cleo, I can add Kristen. And again, it kind of just starts populating and adding individuals to share the form with. So I can say, hey, to collaborate and build this form with. All right, and then what it's going to do once I click send is to send an email to Cleo and Kristen's inbox, which is nice for them because now they are notified that, hey, you have been added to collaborate on a form. Okay, so we've kind of covered these top navigation tools on the right-hand side. If you notice, hey, the snowman or the 3 dots. Whenever this happens or you see this, you want to make sure that you kind of click on it and check it out. So this drops down another navigation toolbar that we can make a copy. I can then trash this if I wanted to. I can get a pre-filled link. So if I needed to adjust the link of the form, you know, what is, let's see what this does. Let me just take you there. Okay, so that just gives us a link to the form to just go ahead and start on the form. So again, I can copy the URL and that'll give me the form of the end product. Okay, going back to our edit view and to our 3 buttons, I can also print this form just so I can read through it. Script editor, I have not had a whole lot of time to play with that, but I'm assuming it has to do with the embedded. No. Let's not go into that today, April. I am not really sure what script editor does. Brian, I know that you're on, so if you have any adds to that area, go ahead and jump right in. Script editor? No?
Well, April, that's for the deep geeks in our organization, like
Not me.
Amanda and Cleo and April Lindsay, some of those folks that are a little, you know, deeper with scripting and languages and stuff
Coding.
to customize things. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So to just customize the form a little bit more, is that what
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
understanding?
you could probably make it do special things. You can Google and search for specific scripts if there's something that's not in there. We played around with it a few years ago when we were trying to get Google Forms to allow you to upload a document to it before they had that as an option. And so,
Roger that.
And so we tried to write a script, and you know, you almost need to be a coder. So.
Okay, so but it's there. It's an option, which is awesome. And then of course you have another area to access the add-ons. Okay, so we've kind of covered this top right tools of the form. Now we're moving a little bit lower into the middle section where you have your questions. Now in the questions area, which is the screen that's right in front of you, this is where we would start adding and adding descriptions and instructions and questions to our form. The other area that you have are the responses. Now, at this point, I don't have the form open or sent to anybody, so I have 0 responses. But when you're in this section, this is where if you click on this icon, which is the spreadsheet icon, this is where it would create a spreadsheet that sends all of the data that you're collecting from this form to, okay, and puts it in your drive. So I can simply select this and it'll create a new, or there's several different, this is new to me too, but you can actually create a new spreadsheet, which is your first option, or you can select an existing spreadsheet. This is something that we did for the SED teacher mentorship project because we have multiple forms that we're using for mentees, mentors, admin. So we were collecting a lot of different data and surveys, but we didn't want to go hunting around on multiple spreadsheets. So what we did was on each of the forms that we created for the project, we said, hey, select an existing spreadsheet. And then at this point, I could choose from my drive an existing spreadsheet that I would like the data to go to. So that's kind of nice if you're working on a long-term project and you're sending out a bunch of forms and collecting a lot of information. I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. And then here's another 3 dots. So we want to make sure that we investigate our 3 dots. So what does this tool set offer us? We get email notifications for new responses. That's kind of new. And I think that's a good way to get notified. That way you don't have to keep monitoring your spreadsheet. The other thing is you can also set your notification tools on your backend spreadsheet. So if any updates are made, then you receive a notification as well. You can select response destination. That's kind of what we just went over. So there's another option for that and under the 3 dots. And you can also download your responses as a CSV. This is really handy in case you need to share it with an outside agency or somebody from the New Mexico PED possibly, and didn't want to give them access, but they were asking for that data. Okay, excellent. So we kind of explored the responses, and then you have a settings tab at the top. Now in the settings tab, I have the option, which is also new in Google Forms, is to make this a quiz. I can assign point values to each of the questions. I can set the answers and automatically provide feedback. This is a great tool that teachers have access to and that can quickly communicate effectively with their students. So this one we will be going over at a later, we'll dive into it a little bit later, but I wanted to show you where it's at, and it's in settings, okay? The other thing that you have is responses, how to manage responses and collected and protected. So let's drop down that arrow or the caret. And at this point, I can collect email addresses. That is on. Send response, a copy of the response. This one I always have them when requested. I kind of like it if they want to have that option to receive the information that they've just filled out. I give them that option on this form. Allow response editing. That can be changed after submitted. So this again depends on what kind of form you're creating. Is this a flexible form where your audience can go back in and adjust their answers or questions or feedback, or do you want them to go to collect it once, one and done type of deal? So this is where you want to think about that setting. Also sign in things restricted to users at Region 9, our agency, or trusted organizations. You can turn this off or on. And then you can limit your responses as well. Okay. So this presentation area is new. You can show progress bar, shuffle the question order. These are often really handy. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of chats from another conversation that hasn't ended, I guess. Shuffle the question order, which is nice. So if you were doing a quiz, that may come in handy for your students. You can also add a confirmation message and specifically communicate with your audience in that way, and show a link to submit another response. Share a result summary with respondents. So this is off, but if I wanted to share my results, if this was a classroom assignment and I wanted my students to be able to see it, I could activate that feature here as well. There's also in the restrictions area, disable autosave for all respondents. This is off. I like to keep the autosave on. And in the default section, let's see, collect email addresses by default. Again, this can be turned on or off. I go ahead and leave it on for all of my forms because it's just good information to collect, and it gives you a way to communicate with whoever filled out the form if you need to. And then make questions required by default. So instead of having to go, when we go into the actual form and start building our form and questions, there's a little slide bar that says, do you want to make this question required? At this point in settings, I can do that in a massive way or all at once if I wanted this, all of my questions in the form to be required. So just note that these are, yeah.
I was just going to tell you down on the bottom where it asks about collect email addresses automatically.
Yes.
These are just defaults on the form settings, so you can always change that individually.
Mm-hmm.
The time, and I see Cleo nodding her head, the time you want to turn that off is if you're sharing the form outside of the Region 9 domain. So if you have somebody from a different school, or if you have somebody from the public that needs to access it and fill it out, if you have collect email addresses automatically, it can't do it because it doesn't know who they are. So you have to turn that off. And if you turn it off, but you want their email address, you can add a field for email address and make it a required field. So
Okay.
a couple of different ways to skin that cat.
Okay, so
these
all
are
right.
just what you're looking at there are just the defaults that when you first open a form, those are the settings that are going to apply. And you can
Now,
individually on an individual form change those, which
Mhm.
is fine.
Okay, and restrict users in Region 9 and it's a trusted organization on this area requires a sign-in.
Yep. So you'd have to turn off that,
those
and you'd have to turn off the collect email address automatically.
If I was using it for more of like a statewide platform or whatever. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that information. You always articulate it so well. All right, so we've kind of covered our couple of toolbars, the 3 different navigation at the top, questions, responses, and settings. And now we're just going to go into the form and start populating. So as you notice, when I revised the title of this form, it automatically added it to this area. If you would like to revise that title at this point or add to it, you can do it down here. All right. Now form description. A lot of times this is where I would provide instructions of what I needed the end user to be aware of and to accomplish or the purpose of the form that I'm sending out. In this case, our email to collect a valid email address is set and it is a required. Anytime you see this red asterisk next to the question, it's going to let the end user know that that is a default and required and a required question. Ooh, who's adding? Cleo's adding. I'm so happy. So Cleo's went ahead and added in some questions for us. And the first thing she wants to collect on the form is a name. All right. So, and in the past, okay, so make sure when you're setting up your form, you may want to space it out because it's going to be populated into a spreadsheet. Okay. So if you want really, really clean data, my suggestion is to do first name and then add another question and say last name. And that way I could reorganize and play with my data in a spreadsheet format. So that's just a suggestion. That's just something that I've learned the hard way. And a lot of times when people say name, they could just say, well, my name is Tom, and that's all they add. And then you're stuck with this name Tom that you don't know what's going on. So it just depends on what kind of information or survey that you're collecting or form that you're building. So if you really need tight, clean data, just be as specific as you can with your questions. Say this is going to be sent and then outside the agency, which Cleo has determined. We will be collecting this. Now, Cleo, I noticed if you look at the name one, let's go ahead and revise. I can't stand it. I gotta say first name. Okay, because I know it's gonna be wonky on the other end. All right. So I revised this to say first name. So I'm specifically telling them I'm going to need their first name. I'm going to drop down this caret. And at this point, I have an option of different types of ways for my audience to answer. Short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down, file upload, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on. So in this case, what do you think the best thing or best field that we need to select for our audience to answer? Anybody? Don't all jump in there, really.
I would guess short answer.
Yes. Who was that? Oh, Toby. I figured it out. Toby. Yes, Toby's right. So in short answer, Brian, can you remember how many characters are in short answer? I can't remember.
37.25.
Wow.
No, I
You're
don't
joking.
know.
You don't know. That's a joke. See, you can't believe it. Anyway, so short answer, just be aware that it only allowed so many characters in that field. Short answer will be enough for a long last first name, okay? And then if a paragraph, again, it gives you a little bit more characters to play in. Say that you're asking the class for a longer answer. You can also select that. Okay, so in this case, short answer makes sense. Do we want to make this required? I would say yes, because we're collecting that information. So I want to turn on my required field. I'm going to go ahead and pop open this drop down, description, response, validation. I don't know what those are. Brian, you're on again. Cleo, any idea? Oh, okay. So in the description, it gives me if I need to add some instructions, that would give me an area to populate that. And let's go ahead and place response validation. Okay, number, text. Oh, okay. So these are kind of new, which is nice. So so like I said, it's going to populate a spreadsheet. So we want our data to be really, really clean. These two areas provide the description. You can provide your audience with more instruction if it's needed. And then this response validation, it pops down, and then you can specifically say, I'm only going to collect a number in this field. So if I'm collecting a phone number or an email address, it's going to boot out or flag anybody that's not typing in a correct email address. So your data will become a little bit cleaner. In this case, it's just going to be text. Doesn't contain email URL. I don't really need to populate that. I wonder if I can just do that. Just text. And then it should be okay. Custom error text. Nope, I don't want one. Okay. So Cleo added another question for the last name, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and make this required as well, Cleo. And then again, if I have something that I want to delete or get rid of or duplicate, you have these two icons when you're adding questions. This is your duplicate icon. So if I have a question that's in my form that I'm going to add another similar question, I can go to that question and click duplicate, and then I can delete it if I no longer require it. On the floating side toolbar, again, you just have a lot of these same features. The plus button is to add a question. You can also import your questions, add a title and description. I can add an image. So if I want to add an image or a video at this point, I can add an image for my students. Okay. Those are photos that we didn't need to see. So I can visually make it exciting for people to look at, which is nice. And if you notice this, as I'm moving down the form, this floaty toolbar on the side kind of goes with me, which is nice. And each of these questions that Cleo's created, if I need to access them, go ahead. 2 minutes. I can just simply click on that box and then, add my question. So let's go ahead and practice adding a multiple choice question. Okay. So multiple choices. What question? Do you like Oreos to eat? I don't know. To eat lunch. Okay. And so right now it's giving me a suggestion, which is nice. Add all, yes or no, maybe. I kind of like that feature. It's smart. It's picking that up, some of my responses. So I'm going to click on add all. And as you can see, I now have the option for yes, no, and maybe. I can also add other as another option for the person to fill out another comment or another option. So what are the difference between multiple choices and checkboxes? Checkboxes, I can fill out multiple times. The end user will be able to fill out multiple times, sorry. Multiple choice, you can only answer one. Drop downs, I would use it if you have a long list for them to choose from. Say, what grade level do you teach? That's when you could build a drop down K through 12, and they can select all of their grade levels or grade level that they teach in. The other thing is districts. You can populate or upload a drop-down list that has all the districts listed. We use that many times in events that are already made, and it gives you a lot of clean data on the back end. Okay. Do you like chocolate? Yes. And as you notice, all of these are required except for the do you like to eat cheese? I'm sorry, I'm tired too. Mario's for lunch. Excuse me. Mario's for lunch and your options. So adding questions, I can just keep going on and on. At this point, since I was at my 2-minute mark, thank you, Cleo. Now I'm over 4 minutes. Got it. And I have a chat. Good suggestion. You go, oh, you're so sweet, Michaela. I don't know what I suggested, but very nice. There's a lot of different things that you can do with Google Forms, and we're going to be continuing our Google Forms series. The next, does anybody have any questions on how to at least create a Google form, get to your Google Forms, and then how to add your questions? Cleo's shaking her head. I can't see anybody else.
Well, I was late to the party, so I didn't get the
okay,
first part, but
Toby.
I can jump in there and I can look it up. So
No, you're fine. You're doing great, Toby. So the other things that you can accomplish in Google Forms, and as we go through our series, we'll kind of dive into it more, is you can create sections. And what this does is I could actually map some questions. So if I had a person answer a certain question and provide me a certain answer, I could then have them jump to another section. If maybe going through all the sections isn't necessary for your audience. So I can then control kind of how they maneuver through the form by how they answer. So those are just a few things that we can discover together as we're going through Google Forms. Kristen, I know you said you hadn't made or created a form, but after today, do you think that it's pretty easy and simple, and you can just start getting into it? She may have stepped away. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for today. We will kind of go go through it next week and just kind of dive more and more into Google Forms through these next few sessions together. So I hope you can all join us for our next session. And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. So if you have any questions, you can always email me. I'm here to support you in any way I can. Thank you, Toby. Thank you.